So you want to be a bodybuilder. Welcome back to the channel, guys. For those of you that are new here, my name's Tim and I'm a NPC men's physique competitor. We got an awesome video to jump into today. We'll be talking about a few things that you need to consider before starting your bodybuilding journey. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. You need to ask yourself a very important question. Why do you want to compete? What is your purpose to compete? Do you want to be a IFBB pro? Do you want to, hopefully bless the Olympia stage one day? Or you want to be a top fitness influencer, or are you just doing it for a hobby? None of those are wrong by any stretch, but it's important to keep that in the forefront of your mind as prep continues. So when you get to probably at 4 to 6 week out mark, things will get really really difficult. And it's really really important. I can't express how important it is to keep that why, the reason you want to compete, at the forefront of your mind. Because when things get hard, sometimes that is the only thing that gets you through those really really tough days. So always remember, whatever your why is to compete. For me, for example, I want to be a pro one day. That's my, lifelong dream. That is what I'm striving for. That's what I'm, working very hard for, day in and day out. And sometimes, that is all that gets me through the hard days of contest prep. Those days when you're fatigued, you're tired, you don't want to do your cardio, you don't want to train. In the back of my brain, I've still got, man, I want to be a pro one day. Let's go do this shit. Let's go kill it. So definitely keep your why on the forefront of your mind as prep continues. So next one up, guys, hire a coach. All else fails, guys. You need a coach. So story time. I prepped myself for my first ever bodybuilding show, and I swear I made every mistake in the book. 10 out of 10, don't recommend it, but it was very eye opening. I learned that, I could not look at myself objectively. Especially towards the end of prep, I was making unnecessary changes. When changes didn't need to be made, I was making them anyway. I was over dieting. I was doing way too much cardio. Yeah, it just wasn't a good look. So, long story short, I ended up hiring a coach the following week after my first show back in 2022, and it has been absolutely life changing. So we went through like a 2 year off season, and then we did like a 20-week contest prep here most recently. I most recently competed back in June of 24. So hiring a coach has been paramount to my success. And by no means I'm not a crazy high level bodybuilder by any stretch. I'm inspiring just like you, but the progress I made in that 2 year window was unlike any other. My training style changed. My approach to nutrition changed, and it was just super nice, knowing that, hey, I've got to check in with somebody on a weekly basis. So I need to eat my meals. I need to stay on top of my diet, on top of my nutrition. I need to keep getting my cardio in. If not, I'm going to have to report that I fucked up. So having somebody to hold yourself accountable, it makes a huge difference. And also, like I said earlier, you can't look at yourself objectively as prep continues. When it gets really really rough, guys, when you're tired, you're hungry, you're fatigued, you're going to go look in the mirror. You're going to see all the negative shit. You're not going to see that, yeah, you have ab veins, but you're going to see that you're holding a little bit of fat on your love handle. That's a one example of how you're going to look at yourself. And when you're flat or when you've stalled out, you're probably just going to turn the dial up more, turn the cardio up a little higher, pull the calories down some more. When a coach might be able to step back and go, okay, we've been pushing really hard for 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, whatever it is. Let's go ahead and give you a diet break. Let's give you a refeed. Push the food back up. And little do you know, that's exactly what your body needed. You'll start dropping weight. You'll start making progress again. And things like that are just come from experience. They've done this a million times. You've never done, maybe you've never done this before, maybe you have, but still, like I said, having somebody to overwatch your contest prep is a huge deal, and it's a huge win for you. So definitely hire a coach, and ideally you're going to hire these you're going to want to hire your coach in an off-season setting for the best results. You don't want to show up to a coach, say, hey, shoot him a DM or a text, whatever it is. Hey, I'm 12 weeks out from a show I want to do. You got to think, guys, they have no idea how your body's going to respond to certain variables. So ideally, start working with a coach at the beginning of an off season. That way, they have an entire off season to see how your metabolism responds, see how you respond to dieting. Maybe do some mini cuts in there, maybe work on your weak points, that kind of thing. So definitely hiring a coach in an off season setting is preferred. Now, some coaches, I guess, will take you into a contest prep, but In my experience, most coaches definitely prefer you coming to them in an off season. That way, they're not just trying to guess and see what works for your body. So keep that in mind as well, guys. And another very important tip to think of, or not an, a very important thing to consider, you need to be patient and you need to be realistic. So bodybuilding is a very long term game, guys. You don't expect to be be in the Olympia in 2 years. You shouldn't expect to get your pro card in 2 years. This stuff takes time. Building muscle takes time. Building density, building the hardness, the graininess that it takes to be a high level competitor just takes time. And you need to be realistic in the fact too that maybe you don't have the best genetics. Maybe as far as you can go in the sport is at a national level. Um, and like I said, I'm not saying that to be mean or to pick on anyone, but sometimes, for some people, that's a reality. You have a 50-inch waist and 40-inch shoulders. You're probably not going to do very well in a bodybuilding sport. So keep that in mind. Just make sure you're realistic with yourself, but also don't let anything hold you back either. If you want to bodybuild, by all means, bodybuild. Just accept the fact that you might not be able to return pro someday, and that's okay too. You can have an awesome career, well, not so much a career, but you can have an awesome time enjoying bodybuilding as a hobby and not go pro or not reach the Olympia stage. So, just make sure you're being realistic with yourself. If you got shit genetics, and another thing with that too, you're not going to really know if you've got poor genetics until you've been doing this for a long time. So keep that in mind as well, guys. All right. So next one up, do you have the time to compete? So this is a very interesting one. So in an off-season setting, time isn't as big of a deal. You're not typically not spending as much time in the gym. Maybe you are if you're like me, that you like to be more of a not more of a social butterfly, but you're a social butterfly in the gym. You got friends, you hang out, you talk to them a little bit here and there between sets. Um, it can take up some time that way, but you're typically not doing as much cardio in the off season. Maybe you're a little lax with your nutrition, which could be a downfall. Keep that in mind. Um, so you don't have as many time demands in the off season as you do in a contest prep. So on a contest prep, all your ducks have to be in a row. You have to be doing your cardio. You have to be prepping your food. You have to be meal prepping. Getting your workouts in, staying on top of all those variables. And honestly, guys, it's really time consuming, especially if you're trying to work a full time job or if you've got a super crazy schedule. It can be a lot. Getting up super early to get those cardio sessions in, or staying up late to make sure you get your last meal in, or prep your food for the next day, because you have to plan. You have to plan for the next day. Especially in a contest prep setting. So make sure, guys, you have enough time. Realistically, make sure you have enough time to compete, because the last thing you want to do is get into a contest prep, you know, burn yourself out halfway through, and realize that you're being pulled in all different directions and you just don't have the time for it. That kind of sucks. It hits you pretty hard, and maybe at this point you've already paid for the show, you've already paid for your NPC card, so you could be out some money there as well on top of coaching fees and things like that. Just to all this could have been mitigated by you being realistic with yourself and saying, okay, I don't have the time to compete right now. And something else you want to consider too is if you have any like major life changes going on. So whether you're getting married, you have a vacation, or you're changing jobs, you're moving across the country, any of those major life things going on is not something typically you want to do during the middle of a prep. Now, don't get me wrong, some people can, and it turns out well. Some people can go on a vacation during the middle of prep and not go off the rails and eat their meal prep or track their macros, whatever your approach is, and be perfectly fine with that. I just know personally that would throw my type A ass way off. I could never do it. So try not to do a contest prep around major life events, things like that. Now sometimes there's nothing you can do about it, and you just have to adapt and overcome and deal with it and go on about yourself. And that's just a whole different situation. But if you can plan, if you can plan these things and make it, plan your contest prep around them, that would most definitely be ideal. So try to do your best to keep like major life events out of your contest prep. So next one up, guys. Do you have the funds to compete? So, guys, let me tell you, bodybuilding is fucking expensive. it is by far, from in my experience, been one of the most expensive hobbies that I've ever done. And like I said, I'm not trying to discourage you in any of this. I just want you to, to have a realistic look into what actually goes on during contest prep. So to kind of break a few things down, you have your monthly coaching costs, which can range anywhere from say $200 to $400 for contest prep coaching. Have your meals that you have to make. So you have to buy a lot of groceries, that kind of thing. Typically, a lot more produce, a lot more fruits, a lot more, unprocessed foods in general, and that kind of adds up as well. But all those, you typically have to buy anyway, so that's not terrible. Now, where it gets expensive is the actual show day stuff. So just to compete in the NPC, which is the National Physique Committee, and that's going to be the only organization we're talking about here, guys, because honestly, I'm not familiar with any of the other organizations. So to buy, to compete in the NPC, you have to buy an NPC card. And I believe I paid $135 for mine back in June. So $135 there. And so you have to buy show entry. And you have to pay for these, you have to pay to compete per class. So if you're doing, say, men's physique true novice, which is first time competitor, men's physique novice, and men's physique open, you have to pay for each of those classes individually. And typically classes are anywhere from 100 to 120 bucks, just depending on the promoter. So you're getting into some money there. And you also have to consider your tan. Tanning is also pretty pricey. I personally have always done the DIY tans, and you can buy the DIY kits from like ProTan and various companies like that, depending on what the show has. The host tanner is. You can buy like their do-it-yourself kit, and I think I paid like $50 for those. But it is something you have to do yourself, and they're not going to be touching you up. Now you can go the route of having the host tanner, do a spray tan for you, and that's going to run you about $150, give or take some here and there. That's just some numbers that I've heard. And lastly, too, something else you need to consider is hotel slash Airbnb. So those prices can vary pretty wildly. I think I paid $150 a night for my last Airbnb, and I ended up staying 2 nights. I stayed Friday night, because you have to come in and check in, and then Saturday morning you have to do the athletes meeting, and then I elected to stay Saturday night as well, just like I said, I wasn't getting home late and that kind of thing. And also, you need to consider travel costs. So whether you're if you have to drive to a city to compete, like I do, like we don't have anything local for me, or if you're doing like a big national level show, you have to fly out. You obviously don't have to fly out just for national level shows, but if you're doing a show that's not within driving distance, you have to consider plane tickets and stuff like that as well. But yeah, guys, so that's just a few key points, something you need to think about before you start your journey. That way, you have all your ducks in a row, and you're not surprised by anything. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments what you guys want to see moving forward. So I just want to keep bringing you the content that you're wanting to see. So thank you so much. Peace.